Hey, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's about 8:26. I don't have to be at work for another 6.5 hours. Well, actually, 7.5 hours. 7.5 hours. So, but anyway, I talked about this in a previous audio. It was done on Thursday, the first day of the New York Comic Con, and I want to talk about more about something that was announced even before then. And I know I spent most of the time talking about it. I know I spent. I know I spent most of the time talking about it and everything, but I want to talk about it one more time. Try to get more of a sense of exactly the direction. More of a sense of the direction that they might be planning to go in with this Worlds Unite sequel to Worlds Collide, or basically as they call it, the second act in the crossover between Sonic and Mega Man. Now, one might assume that despite what the panel said on Thursday, that this crossover actually came about because of the fact that Mega Man and Sonic are involved in Smash. Some might think that, and they might be right. Maybe the crossover, the second act, the sequel came about because of the fact that both Sonic and Mega Man are involved in the Smash game. And I can understand that. I get that. I can totally see and understand that. I really can. Like I said, I can totally see, and understand exactly where, they might be coming from with that. Like I said, I can kind of totally understand and see where they're coming from with that. But, but basically you have the panel there saying, oh, well, we had this planned out since the first one started and ended. And, okay, fine. If you had that planned out, then where do you go from here? And how do you get the synopsis of what you're planning to occur? How do you get that to occur, right? How do you get the synopsis of what you're planning to do to occur? Now, we all know in the main continuity of Sonic right now that they are on a World Tour 3, I guess you could call it, world traveling mission to piece the world back together. They're, basically trying to find these Gaia temples, they're trying to find the emeralds, and they're trying to get everything pieced back together so the planet can be whole again. Now, some might say that this will lead possibly into what Worlds Unite is about. I mean, I said it best on Thursday when I was doing sort of a live, reading of what TSSZ News was reporting. And, I mentioned this on Thursday. I said basically that I feel there's a possibility that one of the areas they can go in is having Sonic's world, parts of Sonic's world disappear and appear in Mega Man's world, and parts of Mega Man's world in exchange disappearing and showing up in Sonic's world. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking that might be where they go. Now, according to the report as well, one of the things Paul Kaminski said was it's going to basically be looped into the regular narrative of both continuities, of both comics. Now, what that means by looped is kind of something that might say it could be strung along a little bit. In other words, it'll basically, trying to figure that out. It's like, kind of like I said, and like I said on Thursday. I think, in honesty, it's it could mean anything. I mean, when you're saying being looped into the regular narrative, you kind of think to yourself, well, what do they mean by that? What do they mean by being looped into the regular narrative? And the only thing, like I said, I can think of is it's going to slowly be integrated. In other words, we're going to get into the crossover, but it's going to be an event that's like, oh, excuse me, I hit the mic there by accident with my hand. But it's going to be something along the lines of, it's going to kind of slowly take place. Because if he's saying that they're going to take what happened when worlds collide and basically expand on it, blow it up, if you will, to me, it tells me they're going to use every character, not just game characters, but every character they have, game and comic exclusive character they could think of. And that this could be one of the biggest things that happens. And that this is all going to be part of the Worlds Unite deal. And again, I think in a sense, it's all about basically, honestly, I think it's all going to focus on getting Sonic's world back together. That's what I see. I could be wrong. Like I said, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking they're going to do. They're going to do something to that matter. Now, I think it's mainly got to focus on, because think about it this way. If they're planning to launch this around the same time frame, 2 years later, basically, that they did Worlds Collide, then you're looking mainly at April or May. And if it's going to be bigger, you're probably looking at almost, I wouldn't say a year's worth. I just had to adjust the mic there. I wouldn't say a year's, not a year's worth, but I wouldn't say the rest of the year's worth. But I'd be saying something maybe along the lines of perhaps you're looking at 6 issues. You're looking at 6 issues each out of each comic. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking you're looking at something that's relatable to the main comic universe and Mega Man. So you'd basically be looking at 6 issues each if that's one of the ways Paul Kaminski's talking about making it bigger, blowing it up. So you'd be looking at basically 18-issue story. That's right, an 18-issue story, 6 issues of the main, 6 issues of Mega, 6 issues of Universe. That's my estimate there, if he's going to lengthwise make it bigger. That's what I'm thinking. But then you have that whole situation where they talk about it's going to be looped into regular narrative. Now, what that means to me, like I said, is I think it's slowly going to be integrated, and that's going to take place within those few issues, those first few issues, before we get into the gut of it, before we get into the heart of it, which would probably be during the summer. I would say the spring issues with this World Unite will be like the stepping point, will be the prologue to it. The summer will be the main gist of it, and then the ending, like around the fall, will be the epilogue of it. That's what my take on it could be. That's my take on it. Not saying that that's a possibility. Like I said, that's my take on it. That's my take on it right there. Now, how every character will be utilized is going to be totally up to what happens. Now, I look at these preview covers. I look at the one with Sonic and Mega Man kind of like side by side, and they got that lightning between them. And it says Worlds Unite. And then you have them basically coming like right down on each other like the two, asteroids heading towards the planets. One thing I think could happen, and if this happens, I could definitely see a lot of criticism. Because this is something that normally wouldn't happen in these kind of comics. But if you're talking about something called Worlds Unite, I wouldn't be surprised if they do some kind of fusions. Like basically everybody that's relatable to a counterpart of theirs in the other world will be fused with that person. That's right. Anybody that's relatable to the counterpart in let's say Amy Rose. Let's say she's sort of relatable to Roll in Mega Man's world. I wouldn't be, if this is what they do as part of Worlds Unite, you could end up seeing a freaking fusion between Rose and Roll. And they can end up being known as Roll Rolls. Or Roll Rose, or whatever. You could see that. It's a possibility, not saying it's going to happen, but that's kind of it's something I'm kind of thinking they might go in. That might be a direction they go in, because we don't really know much about Worlds Unite just yet. We'll probably know more as the months go on. But it's something that's kind of crosses my mind a little bit that might be a direction. Might be. It might be a direction. Not saying it is, but it might be. But to me, again, like I said on the Thursday audio, I give the panel a lot of credit for not really giving much away. More like it's a guessing game. You got to guess exactly when it's going to happen, and you just got to wait. It's a guessing and a wait game. That's mainly what it is. I'm sure as the months go on, we'll get more information. And it's kind of in contrast to, I guess, a little bit what Ian said. You see, a lot of people started getting some information about this thinking it's going to be a limited series, like it's going to be its own books, its own issues. But comes out and says, no, it's still going to be part of the main content. It's still going to be part of the main comics. And yet, like I've said before, we find out it's going to be a narrative loop. It's going to be a loop into it's basically going to be some kind of narrative loop into the regular storyline. And that to me is like a big question. It's like, exactly what do you mean by narrative loop? What are you talking about? Out and everything. And again, I'm just going off from what I've read and I can understand. All I know is Worlds Unite is definitely going to be probably worth checking out. And I think what really is exciting people is the fact that when you say that if you're the editor-in-chief and you're out there saying it's going to take what you saw in Worlds Collide and blow it up even more, you're basically telling fans that, hey, we're going to give you more characters besides the game characters. We're going to give you comic exclusive characters crossing over with each other. We're going to give you something bigger, maybe storyline-wise, length-wise, than the last one. Which makes me think that, one, we could end up having an overall 18-issue story. 6 issues each, if you know what I mean. An overall 18-issue story. That's my look at it. That's my look at it right there. Again, that's just speculation on my part, but that's the feeling, that's the vibe that I get with Worlds Unite, its announcement. That's the vibe I get. But the question will be, what will be the end result? Again, I go back on the fact that, this has to do, from a Sonic continuity-wise, with his world finally coming together, being pieced back together. It'll probably have to do a little bit with Dark Gaia. There's no doubt about that. It'll probably have to do with the Dark Gaia creature. And you got to have an instigator on the other side of things. So it's got to probably deal with one of the new powerful baddies on the Mega Man side of things as well. So that, to me, that's just the vibe I'm getting. I'm thinking this whole Dark Gaia situation is going to be part of the cause on the Sonic side of things, and then whoever the major baddie is at that time on the Mega Man side of things is also going to be part of it as well. And yeah, you can probably throw Eggman and Wily in there as catalysts that'll help that out too. But again, these are just vibes that I get. These are just speculations and opinions that I feel could become reality. So, really, that's all I'm going to say on Worlds Unite. And let me know what you guys think and if you agree. Peace out.